I wanted to ask, at what point in your life you discovered a love for audio and what made you want to pursue that as a career?
Hello. I'm Scott. Okay. When I started in audio, one of the inspirations I had obviously was music. I am a musician, but it wasn't just really melody, it was tone. So while everyone may have been listening to the Beatles, I think I was listening to Yes and Genesis and other bands, and I just went, oh, what's that sound and how'd they get that? And then I remembered seeing Star Wars, and I just thought that was amazing. I enjoyed the sound, and I always, without knowing it, I think I was always meant to be a sound designer, because every time I heard something cool, my ears went straight for it. So even as a musician, synthesizers, when they came out, and just hearing the tone and the design of the sound and how it was used. And then I have to admit, I loved film score music because it gave you emotion. And I just, little by little, even when I went to music school, I ended up leaning towards music that gave you an emotional feel more than just laying four on the floor creating a groove. I wanted it to go somewhere. I wanted it to go high and low and make me feel something.
Was there a point where you were interested in games as well as film, or was that always naturally there?
Yeah, I started in film. I started in music. Yeah. Then I went to film, and at that time I was doing movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I was doing Born on the 4th of July, and I loved how I could tell tell stories with sound. Then that led me, when I started seeing video games, I enjoyed playing them. But at that time, audio was very FM, and it was very simple, and it had that video game sound. So eventually I thought, wow, it could be so much more. And as sound designers, even whether you're in movies or whatever medium you're in, it's fun to do creatures and weapons and sci-fi. So here's a medium that pretty much specializes in creatures, weapons, and sci-fi. So I thought, oh, this is great, and I think there was a great need for it. And I love technology. So all of those just kind of worked themselves into, I got attracted to gaming.
Nice. Do you have a favorite game that kind of was a sci-fi creature sound that you thought, oh, this is something I can do now?
Do I have a favorite game? I'm not allowed to say. It's like having lots of kids. Which one's your favorite? You can't say that. There's so much good, there's so much great game. There's games of the past. There's games that are coming out now. And to try to pick one is brutal. Because I also think that, going simple is like Angry Birds. And whee! I thought it was brilliant. It was simple. It wasn't very difficult. It was just right. So all the way there to some of the coolest stuff that's out now. It's hard. I can't pick one.
How did you get your first job in the industry?
So the way I got my first job in the industry was it really started with, I was programming synthesizers, and I had all of these studio musicians that asked me they would give me a synth and say program it. So I'd program in the typical, here's a harpsichord, here's a French horn, here's whatever. And I just wanted to create lasers and weird weapons. So I remember I was in an apartment and someone went, wow, I think your music's really interesting, it's just very different. And I'm like, what music? Oh no, that's just lasers and weapons. And I'd hear stuff. And then once I started seeing outboard gear, I took all the stuff that was used in recording studios and start putting it into sound design. Then it became anything that made noise. That, whether it's the toilet of an airplane, you take that, you can actually make that into a weapon. Not that I'm going for weapons, but there's just so much great stuff. So I kind of joke around, I'm an audio photographer. I'm constantly recording anything, whether it's animals or just things that are odd, and find a way to incorporate that into my sound design. And so how did I get started? I don't know. I started with music that led into cartoons. I did Transformers and G.I. Joe and all these, Saturday morning cartoons, which then led into some TV work. And then people started seeing what I was doing and really liked it. I was working on a synclavier at the time. and then they said, hey, you should get into movies. You have more time to do the work, which led me into 30 years of movies, and then I've been doing games probably 26 years. So I've been doing games a long time, and luckily and thankfully, no one's told me to choose. So I get the option to play in both playgrounds, and I love it.
You don't have to choose.
Nah.
What's your favorite tool or your favorite objects to make sounds from?
My favorite tool or thing to make sounds from actually is my voice. I've used my voice on so many things that nobody knows about. I'm the voice of a lot of characters. So I'm the voice of the dragon in Shrek. I am in Pacific Rim, I'm Leatherback in a bunch of creatures. I am Auntie in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I'm just on and on and on. And because I can make my voice do cool sounds, but not only that, I can give an emotion. So what I like, though, you can create cool sounds, but there's also how do you use the sounds? How do you incorporate them to create giggle factor? So for me, it was easy to make a dragon, but now she's got to flirt with Donkey. So how to do that? How to do Reapers in Blade 2. The real fast breathing. And then take that and manipulate your voice. So a lot of times I'll do that because I'll get that, like in Leatherback in Pacific Rim when he's looking at the two pilots, the Jaeger pilots, and kind of does that, look, how do you do that? There's no animal that makes that sound. So I'll use a combination of my voice. And also as a guitar player, I use a lot of weird guitar stuff.
Do you use lots of musical instruments in your sound design?
Yes, a lot of my sound design is very musical, not sounding like music, but I've been told that my approach is musical in that I believe what's called phrasing. So like in a song, you go up, you go down, and you resolve, and then you tension and release. Same thing in design. I'll look at a whole scene, or in gaming it's a little different. In movies it's easier to see a scene. In gaming, I'll look at, is it a bunch of creatures that come in more, and you get them and boom, there's a release. So how do you build the tension? I've used didgeridoos, and you build, and then all of a sudden you're done. So now all of a sudden, also people have internal rhythms, whether you know it or not, and some people they have a cadence inside their head, or so what I'll do is I'll play with people's cadence, and I'll mess it. People go, I don't know why, but I find that very disturbing, and I've done nothing but change and alter rhythms. So really what it comes down is understanding how audio plays on the human psyche.
Interesting. If you could work on any design, or you make your own game, what kind of game would you make, and what kind of sound design would you do for it?
So what's my ultimate game?
You have ultimate control over it, or whoever you want to come
Sure.
with.
If I were to create my ultimate game, I would try to, I think everybody's trying to create the holosuite, where you're totally submersed in an environment. So I'm really beginning into VR, and I know VR is not quite there yet. But if you could immerse yourself in an environment that had a place you needed to explore, challenges that you had to meet, obviously it's got to be creatures, because why not? I'm a sound designer. It's a world that allows you to be thrilled, to be curious. The game that I would want to do, I don't think has been made yet. It's almost like taking a bunch of different games and combining them, but it's got to be even I did The Void over the last couple of years, and it was the beginning of haptics, where you can grab something and move something and explore, and then deal with a conflict and do it with other people. So you've got the social networking, you've got haptic responses, you've got quiet moments and big moments. You've got heroic moments. So you want to be able to be part of the story. And I think that gets into, you got movies and you've got games, and this is where you get into interactive entertainment, where all of a sudden, it's not always full-toed adrenaline. Games can sometimes be like, as fast as you can, go, 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 I got it. So it gives you that adrenaline rush. I'd like to have more emotions, more exploratory, a little scared, a little curious, all that kinds of stuff.
Nice. Are there any other art forms or mediums, like dance or paintings, that you draw inspiration from when you're working?
I get a lot of inspiration in what I do, probably by visuals. Visuals and pace. If I see something that's like a weird, goofy creature that's kind of funny but dark, then automatically my head starts going in that area. So the difference is, as a sound designer, I don't come to a project with what I want to do. I try to come in with a white slate, and then I let the project tell me what it wants. So when I see the visuals and I go, oh, look at that. So then I look at, okay, so my brain starts going a lot of what it could be. And then I'll take that and I'll look at pace. So I'm going to go on a movie side. So I'm also the voice of Flubber. So I went in with John Hughes, and we flew to Chicago to see the beginnings. And all it was Robin Williams with his hand like this. And I had no clue what Flubber was going to be. So I was talking to John, and I'm like, okay, it's gelatinous, it's goofy. And he's like, yeah, but then we're going, yeah. So I start doing like voices, and he's there going, man, you're kind of weird. Little by little, he started liking it, kind of stuff. And all these neat little sounds. And then he calls me up, he says, look, I need Flubber in a week. And I went, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. And he goes, no, do the voice. That voice thing you did, just do that. But then for me, I don't want it to be a human voice doing a material. So I use outboard gear and computers to manipulate my voice to make it sound more like gelatinous goo. Yeah, so I think did I veer off the question? I'm sorry to...
It was to do with art forms or mediums.
Let me start again. Or let me just... Okay, I'll do it really fast. I get mostly inspiration, I think, when I see a picture. When I see the visuals, and it just leads me to come up with a whole bunch of ideas. I'm a huge fan of visual special effects. And I'm like a little kid in a candy store. When I see something cool, my tail will start wagging. I'll be like, oh, I can go, it's really cool, And so I think that gets me going, and then seeing the personality of that character, then that just starts taking me all sorts of interesting places.
Cool. You've worked on tons of different games, from fantasy titles like Fable to the kind of like borderline horror of Doom.
Uh-huh.
How do you approach such different types of games?
I've been fortunate to work. I haven't been typecasted, whether it's been movies or games. And it's kind of like being a musician. I can play jazz, I can play heavy metal, I can play EDM, whatever it is, I get a chance to stretch my creative muscle and try to figure out how to be inspired by that form. I'm a big fan of everybody else's work. So I'll listen to the catalog of work that's been done before in a special genre, and then I'll see, okay, what's my take on it? What do I want to add? What do I think I could bring that's unique to the game? I feel good that I've been able to not be pigeonholed, where I only do weapons or I only do creatures. Because while I've done like a lot of creatures, I did American Beauty on a movie. I've done gaming, I've done giggle factor, goofy stuff. I got a chance to do some work on Plants vs. Zombies, which I'm a huge fan of. And then there's the really cool like Gears of War, where it's just, that adrenaline thing. And then even the horror stuff. So for me, it's just stretching a different muscle. I don't have a favorite. My favorite is being able to be variety.
Do you get quite a lot of creative freedom when you're working?
Yeah, so and again, I'm going to go back to film for a second, but so at one point early on in my career, I went to Oliver Stone and I said, what do you want on the scene? And he said to me, he goes, son, if I knew what I wanted, I don't need you. What I need you to do is tell me what I need. I went, okay. And that was like within the first year of me doing movie sound design. But it was a crucial time because that's what set the way I work. So like a soloist or a musician, you want to be able to, you hire me for a reason. You hire me because you like my taste and my take on something. So I like to ask my clients not what they want, because that's not fair. They're not experts in that. What I ask them is, what don't they want? Yeah, I don't want it to sound like this, I don't want it to sound like that. Great. So it's much easier for all my clients to tell me what they don't want. Then I go, okay, now I know to stay away from the landmines. What do I need to do? How do I need to go forward? And then I can see the colors that are available to me. I think very visually. What colors are available to me to be able to accomplish what the client's looking for.
Cool. And finally, if you had to listen to one music album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
A music album?
Yeah.
Wow. If you had to ask me what music album I'd have to listen to for the rest of my life, I'd go insane. I don't think I've got one. There's so much music that I just love. And I love everything from the prog rock of Pink Floyd and Genesis to Motown, and just, all the people that have come out of Prince and that group, to bluegrass, to classical, and hearing soundtrack music, whether it's James Horner or Hans Zimmer, just the wonderful James Newton Howard. I've got a chance to work with all these guys. It's been wonderful. And I don't know, I think I'm a variety guy. I don't think I have one single one, because I think also with sound and with music brings out certain emotion. So some of it makes you want to dance and kind of get a rhythm and you feel good. Some of it makes you feel very deep and thoughtful and provoke images. So I think that I don't think I have one.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.